110 maybe. Sometimes average probably about 105, quite a bit during the summer, but then during the winter, then we get highs of maybe 70, 73, 75, somewhere around there, is the highs, and that's Fahrenheit. Um, but so it's starting to cool down a little bit. We were in the 90s for a while there, but then we are down to I think it's a mid 80s this week. So, and usually um, whenever we get close to Halloween time, then it starts to cool down a little bit, and so we don't get a whole lot of trick-or-treaters in our area. Um, we might get 5 or 7 or something like that, total trick-or-treaters in our area, and that's probably kind of good because our dogs bark and go crazy whenever they see anybody. So we would have to put our doggies in one of the rooms whenever we were giving out candies, or maybe put them in the backyard. Even then, if they heard the kids talking out in front of the house, then they would bark like crazy, and it 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 can be a nuisance sometimes. But the trick-or-treaters usually come around dusk, so probably around 6 p.m. Usually whenever we get most of the trick-or-treaters. I mean, if we get them if they come around 8 o'clock, then it's very rare. And the ones that usually come around 8 o'clock are the older ones, the ones that are um, in junior high, or maybe freshmen in high school. They're dressed up. They still want to dress up like little kids, but then at the same time, and they still want to dress up like little kids and get candy, but then at the same time, then they're a little bit too old to be trick-or-treating, and so it's the kids. It's the little kids that we enjoy the most, and sometimes I dress up. Oh, well, actually, my wife, she has costumes for our dogs, and uh, there's one that's a ballerina outfit, and then there's one that is a jack-o'-lantern outfit, and there's one, actually I had a Darth Vader outfit for one of our dogs that we used to have, pug named Jack. So let's see, jack-o'-lantern, and a pumpkin, and a princess, and just we just we're silly. We dress up the doggies like that sometimes, and around Halloween time. I might put a link in the description of this video showing our dogs whenever they get all dressed up for Halloween. It's kind of fun. It looks kind of fun. But anyway, what I'm doing here is I'm gathering up palm fronds for our because they have fallen. A lot of the palm fronds have fallen from the there's a big tall palm tree out in front of our house. It's kind of in front of our house. There's a little courtyard. Our house has just a very tiny little courtyard, just like a little. It's not very wide. It's probably about 12 by 12 maybe, or something, like 12 feet by 12 feet in size. But there's a palm tree. I think 2 palm trees that are sticking up from that, or is it just one? I think not. I can't remember if it's just one or two. But anyway, what the palm fronds, when it's windy at night, then the palm fronds, some of the dead ones, they fall off of that big tall palm tree. I think that big tall palm tree is probably about 20 or 30 feet tall, and so the palm fronds, they fall off of there, and then they come crashing down on our roof, and they're so light they don't really do that much damage to our roof, but they scare up the dogs pretty good, and they make the dogs go crazy. And so sometimes late at night, then we hear this big old thump on the roof, and whenever we hear the big old thump on the roof, then sometimes the dogs just start barking and barking and barking and barking, but there's really nothing, there's nobody outside or anything like that to make that noise. It's just there was a big old palm frond that fell on our roof. And so but sometimes whenever it's really, really windy, then the palm fronds actually don't fall on the roof, they fall in the front yard. And quite a few of them fell in our front yard. And so what I'm doing here is I'm gathering the palm fronds up that fell in our front yard. There was one that landed in this tree, in this I think it's called the Rus lancea, out in front of our houses. Probably it's a little bit left. You can see a palm frond kind of hanging from that tree. I don't know if you can see it, but if you look really hard, then you can see a palm frond is actually hanging from the leaf, or from the leaves, from the top of the Rus lancea on the left side. And the reason why that is because one of the palm fronds actually fell, because the wind, it fell, and it fell into that Rus lancea tree, and I just didn't see it, and I didn't grab it. But hopefully I'll grab it the next time. Just next time I remember. But anyway, so what I did was I gathered up all the palm fronds, and what I do after that, whenever I gather up all the palm fronds, I didn't do it in this video, but what I do is there is a brush and bulky, the city of Tucson, that has a brush and bulky program that the garbage people, garbage trucks go around the neighborhood, and they tell people when they're gonna have a brush and bulky, this brush and bulky dates, and they just do it throughout the city, this brush and bulky program throughout the city, and I think they do it maybe twice a year or something like that. I'm not quite sure, but anyway, I don't know when the next brush and bulky is. I think it was a while ago, so I mean, we might be due for a brush and bulky again, and I hope so, because those palm fronds, see, those palm fronds are kind of, they occupy a lot of space. So our garbage can usually gets pretty full by the end of the week, whenever it's time to pick for the garbage person to pick up the garbage. So there's not really a whole lot of room for palm fronds, to put palm fronds in there. So you have to pick one or the other. Are you gonna put away palm fronds in the trash can, or are you gonna put house garbage in the trash can? And the thing about it is that sometimes brush and bulky is good, because brush and bulky will pick up some of the things like vehicle tires, things that you aren't supposed to throw away normally in your garbage can. There, like paint, other chemicals you aren't supposed to put in your trash normally. Um, they're supposed to, they would rather pick them up at Brush and Bulk, and then they can dispose of them in the correct area where they where they where they desire, over at the um, waste management program thing. Uh, I think it's down south somewhere, Los Reales or something. But anyway, what I'm doing here is I'm gathering the palm fronds, and sometimes the palm fronds, uh, not the ones that fell from that big tall tree, but the other palm fronds, the ones that I cut actually from that tree. Right there's a palm tree right there in the center, and I cut that. That you can see that palm frond. Actually, I'm sitting right in front of that palm frond right now. I mean, right in front of that palm tree right now. But there's some stickers off of that palm frond, and they're pretty nasty. They have a hook in them, and they're real strong and hard, and so sometimes they grab into my skin, and they don't want to let go, so it's not too pretty. And sometimes the spikes from the uh, palm frond, they also can puncture into my skin, and one of them did actually. One of the palm frond spikes did actually go into my palm today, and I pulled it out, but it was a very, very small amount of blood that was coming out of it, so I just didn't think that it would be necessary for me to film that, that little boo-boo that I had. In fact, I can't even feel right now the soreness of that palm frond, of the spike from the palm frond that was in my hand. But anyway, so it's starting to get a little bit cooler, and I don't really care for it to get too cold. But the thing about it is I don't mind the cold so much as long as there's not a whole lot of wind. If it's cold and there's a lot of wind, then I have a really hard time with that. I mean, the good thing about